building on this sort of diplomatic platforms, which obviously where a lot of things are being done, maybe we're not yet together. So again, I have a question for René, who sees the world, is one of the probably best diplomat for music. So how do you think platforms like we just discussed can really influence, amplify the therapeutic benefit of music and brain health? What needs to be done to bring this together? Wouldn't that be a nice connection to be a peacemaker as well?
Well, I loved what Megan said about the power of emotion. And there's no question that it really almost requires emotion for people to understand that change is necessary. And, you know, one of my other passions is for climate. And I'm touring with National Geographic, a really beautiful piece now that is moving to people. And I've even had young people say, oh, yeah, we forgot about climate. 5 years ago, that was a really big issue. And obviously, they're distracted by everything that's happening in the world. But the arts have been used throughout our human history for social cohesion. We're very tribal. We're seeing that now in the world today more than we have in my lifetime. And we have to kind of use the arts for good, to creating a cohesion around these issues that need to be rectified. And I heartily applaud you, Megan, for calling out for a Ministry of Culture. Thank you. That would be so important. And as you said, other developed nations already have this and value it. I mean, I would say countries in Europe valued artists during COVID and really supported them. And in a way that we didn't quite see here. They were supporting stages, which is good, presenters, and that was helpful. But the answer to your question is we just have to keep trying and bringing everyone together around strong issues. This networking is important.
Thank you. We are almost coming to the last part of this discussion. And I will ask the same question to all of the speakers. When we reflect on what we heard today, which was very stimulating for me, what is our call? What is your call to action? How do you recommend we build on this dialogue to amplify, advance the therapeutic power of the arts in fostering brain health across the lifespan? Maybe, Rudy, you can start. What's your recommendation?
Yeah, I think besides the great recommendations we've already heard in the last dialogue and just now from Renee, in terms of the government and national agencies pushing this, there are great foundations out there, programs that are doing this. I work with a foundation called Music Men's Minds, who have just done tremendous things with music and Alzheimer's disease and music and brain aging. There's so many applications. Alzheimer's patients actually do perform better on memory tests after listening to classical music. There's a study that shows that even in patients in general, post-op, after an operation, music can be used to lower blood pressure and stabilize heart rate. So there's so many applications of music. I think we need really buy-in where you have the musicians, the researchers, the government, and the foundations working together to really push this. But I think that there's so much great work going on in some of these philanthropic groups and private groups and foundations, and I really, really admire Music Men's Minds among them, that we could see some type of support from the government to expand their programs and get into senior living. You know, I'm working on one big project now to get better diet in senior living. You know, I don't know if you've seen some of the food in senior living, but you know, these folks need better diet more than anybody. But also getting music piped in on a regular basis, and rather than as an option. And you know, it could be music that they loved in their teens. It could be classical music. Better yet, it could be Renee. But you know, that's what I think we really need, is just like an octopus, just influx and working together.
Megan, I'm asking you the same question, but I'm asking a little bit more because you are sort of closer to the government or very close to the government, who should take the lead in this? So we have foundations, we just heard, we have lots of scientific studies now, NIH is involved, recognize the importance, parents, caregivers more and more realize. So how do we bring this all together?
Well, we're getting closer because the National Endowment for the Arts in the last decade, I would say, has really shifted to exploring the economic benefits. I think the case is being made by you on the health front. Government writ large has got to embrace and understand the healing nature of the arts, particularly at a time when we need so much healing. So I think that, those of us who understand this power of the arts and the need for it do need to talk about it and do exactly what you're doing here and what Renee's amazing book does, which is to bring in more people from more sectors. I am so appreciative of this global brain trust, because that seems to be your strategy, and I think that's exactly the way to go. And the closer we can get to an embrace of the arts as a necessity, rather than the icing on the cake.
The last question is to you, Renee. You are already an ambassador for WHO. You're already an ambassador, worldwide ambassador for music. So what's your advice? What's your recommendation? What should be done? I'm seeing from the other side many patients. I'm seeing homes, I'm seeing many things. So how do we quickly distribute this knowledge and actually make it available to the best of our knowledge? I think we know so much about it, but what I don't see yet when it comes to the patients. So how do we do this?
Right. So we have to remember that this is relatively new in terms of the efficacy of the research, having to do again with technology. So it will take time, certainly in our system, especially, but I would say grassroots organizations, but I think there's an importance around networking because there are so many small organizations, which is why the Sound Health Network, which is a resource center online for everyone to connect with to find out actually what's going on, so there's no redundancy in terms of research. But also NeuroArts Blueprint will start a new global resource center in September. Please look for that, because that will be a watering hole for everyone working in the sector, but it's a much larger umbrella, including all aesthetic experiences. So that's something. So really, the advocacy is important. I wish we had a documentary about this. I wish we had ongoing programming for the public, because ultimately a lot of these things come from the public making demands and saying to their doctors, hey, did you realize, my joke is that I want to see the commercial that says, ask your doctor if music therapy is right for you, because we have so many commercials like that are for drugs. And this is so much better in a way. I mean, even focused ultrasound is a form of music in the sense that it is the fundamental basis for music. And there's a study at MIT that is now testing that you could go to a drugstore and go into a booth and have plaques and tangles cleaned up from your brain with light and sound vibration around 40 hertz. So yeah, the future is very positive. I mean, VR is working well. Oh, see, you've got something.
Yeah, we do it in the lab. What do you think?
Wow.
Yeah.
See, Rudy's doing this. I mean, so the future is positive, but right now we need just strong advocacy. So everybody has to advocate for this, and tell your doctors. You should be prescribing this. Social prescription is in the UK. It's in a few states in the US. And it's basically where medical professionals would say, okay, what you really need is a park pass. You need to go in the park every day. So, we as humans have not changed in a long time. And we have to remember who we are. And that includes this desire to create, to connect, and to enjoy beauty.
Maybe just a very last question. This is, of course, a global BHP trust where many influential women are participating. Do you think women can play a special role? Rudy, we don't exclude you. We are happy that you are joining us and helping us. But what could there be a special role women could play?
Well, I've done a lot of women's advocacy, and I feel like advocating for arts and culture, somehow there are some similar aspects to it, and I've kind of come to the conclusion, if something is very powerful but seems ubiquitous, that it can often be taken for granted and not given enough resources, like women and like the arts. You know, I mean, it's similar. You know, you're trying to make this argument that these things that are obviously so critical are important, and you wonder why you can't. And I think it's because they are thought to be ubiquitous, and you know, we are no threat of losing these things. But I think what you're doing and your strategy of showing the potency and the value of it in science, we're seeing it in the economy, and if we can see it throughout our culture writ large. But what kills me is part of it, what it takes is an inspirational leader like President Kennedy, you know, to just sort of get it. And you know, that would be the shortcut. But and I think actually President Biden gets it. I'm not criticizing the current president at all, but it was sort of a miracle that this guy who was president would be listening to Camelot and quoting from Archimedes. And, you know, I mean, it was sort of in his DNA. And so he happened to be president, but it could be anyone. It could be a CEO. It could be, you know, the more leaders we have in all sectors who get this, the better. And right now we have a Secretary of State who completely gets it. And I know the president and Mrs. Biden, she came to Lisbon with us and spoke so passionately. She hosted the Medal of Arts this year. Everything she does, she brings in artists. When they did the Inflation Reduction Act, which was also one of the biggest investments in renewable energies, you know, they had James Taylor come sing Fire and Rain. You know, they always have an artist.
Thank you all. It was a wonderful discussion. I think by recognizing and promoting the therapeutic benefits of the arts, that's why we wanted to come together today, we can create new opportunities for global support in brain health and the prevention of neurodegenerative diseases like Alzheimer. Stay tuned. We are coming back with other themes, and Rudy will like it. But one of the next one will be gut microbiome and the brain health, which is, of course, also one of my past and something I really, really strongly believe in. With that, we will also send our new newsletter out with a link to this dialogue. You will see it very soon. And my last thing is to thank you all very much and wish you a wonderful rest of the day. Thank you very much.